Hey, this is Miirkat, and I want to thank you for watching another one of my Feral PvP videos. With the 4.0 patch now on live, Ferals have been trying out different specs and abilities. However, there's a lot of Ferals who are still confused on the abilities and rotations, as well as the openers that they're supposed to be using. In this video, we're going to be looking at the changes to the Feral openers and rotation, as well as some of the new abilities that you should be incorporating into your rotation. So without any further delay, let's go ahead and get this party started. To start off with, I'm going to show you how feral damage has been buffed, especially our bleeds. In this example, I'm setting up all my bleeds on a warrior with 1400 resilience, and he's also in battle stance, which now reduces damage taken by 5%. As you can see here, Pounce Bleed, Rip, and Rake can all crit, and they're doing a lot of damage. Now let's go back and see how I set this damage up. Since I know I'm not going to have any mobility issues with the warrior, I'm going to use Feral Charge right off the bat to get to my target. With the new Stampede talent, this is going to allow me to Ravage outside of stealth, but I'm not going to use my Ravage just yet. As I travel to my target with Feral Charge, the opener that I'm going to be using is Pounce. Note that if I Ravage instead of pouncing, I'm going to be wasting that Stampede buff that I got. Even though the main point to pouncing is getting that 4-second stun, the big thing that we're now going to be looking at is the Pounce Bleed that comes afterwards. With the new emphasis on bleeds, Pounce Bleed is now going to be something that you really want to look at in terms of the extra damage. From here, the next couple of steps can change based on the situation. Right after the Pounce, I use my Stampede proc to Ravage for free. Again, remember, you have 8 seconds to use that Stampede proc, but the reason that I'm using it here so quickly is because I want to take advantage of the Predatory Strikes talent. The added crit bonus on this talent is essentially going to give us a free crit on our Ravage, which is going to give us an extra combo point and really helping out our opener. Next, I use Mangle. When trying to maximize your bleed damage, this ability is a must to keep up at all times. This single ability increases all of your bleed damage by 30%, as well as increasing shred damage by 30%. Needless to say, if you want to do your maximum damage, make sure you have Mangle on the target. Now here's a situation that you can find yourself in if both Ravage and Mangle crit. You haven't put up all your bleeds yet, but you're at 5 combo points and you have to use a finisher. At this point, the 2 finishers that'll be the best to use is either Rip or Main. Taking a quick look at Main, this is our finisher that can stun our target for up to 5 seconds. This is the more common finisher as it allows us to control our target as well as set up other abilities. A few things to note about this finisher is that our PvP glove bonus no longer reduces the energy cost of this ability, and it now costs the full 35 energy to use. Also remember that this ability has a 10-second cooldown versus Rogue's Kidney Shot, which is a 20-second cooldown. While it's very easy to push diminishing returns with a short cooldown, with the new change to Feral Charge Cat as well as Stampede, it's a lot easier for Feral Druids to swap targets, generate combo points, and get a maim up very quickly. And the last thing to note is that Rogue's Cheap Shot was changed onto the diminishing returns of a controlled stun, which is the same as Kidney Shot and Main, making Pounce the only opener stun on its own diminishing return. So once again, if you're paired up with a Rogue, have him allow you to pounce while he uses a Garrote or an ambush. And the finisher that I'm going to be using in this example is Rip. I'm going to be perfectly honest, because with the high damage in this patch, as well as the high damage of Rip and our other bleeds, I almost find it more beneficial to use Rip as my first finisher rather than use Main. However, before I use Rip, I'm going to use another ability. Tiger's Fury now increases all of our physical damage done by 15%. There's a big change to this ability, as in before Cataclysm, this ability only affected direct physical abilities such as Mangle, Shred, and Ferocious Bite. So the big change going into Cataclysm is that Tiger's Fury now increases all physical damage, which means it increases bleed damage. With bleed damage so high, it's always beneficial to use Tiger's Fury when applying a bleed or even reapplying a bleed. Now with Rip up and my combo points used, I need to put up my final bleed, which is Rake. Since I still have Tiger's Fury, Rake is taking the full benefit of the increased damage. Baseline, this ability lasts for 9 seconds, but it can be increased further by another 6 seconds through the Endless Carnage talent. And once you have your Mangle and your bleeds up, you can shred for combo points. So let's look at the opener one more time so we can get the rotation down. I Feral Charge in to get the Stampede proc, and I use Pounce as my opener. From there, I use Ravage and then Mangle. At 5 combo points, I use Tiger's Fury to increase the damage of my Rip, and then use Rake. And finally, I Shred for combo points. Now there's no such thing as a set Feral rotation, as any little thing can offset the order of the abilities that you use. Now this example is going to start similar to the last, but it's going to change a little bit due to the combo points I have available. As you can see here, I Feral Charged in and used Pounce as my opener. Then I used my Stampede proc to Ravage, and then I Mangle. But there's a little bit of a problem here, as my Mangle didn't crit and I only have 4 combo points. If you were taking the last example and trying to apply it to this situation, then you should know that the next ability should have been Rip. However, there's a rule that you should only Rip once you have 5 combo points on the target. The reason being that a 5-point Rip does so much more damage than a 4-point Rip, and using another combo generator just to get that last point is worth it. So here, we're going to have to shuffle up the order a little bit, and we're actually going to be using Rake. Well, wait a second. We're actually going to be using Tiger's Fury before the Rake, because Tiger's Fury now increases the damage of Rake and Rip. Now with 5 combo points, we can go ahead and Rip. And now that we've got Mangle and our bleeds up, we Shred for combo points. And once again, there is no such thing as a set Feral rotation. Ferals just use guidelines to maximize our damage, and for the most part, it's really just reading the situation and trying to make the best of it. The absolute best way to perfect the Feral rotation is to really understand the abilities that we have, and learning how these abilities affect one another. On top of that, you're just going to have to go out and practice. The repetition of abilities will help it so it makes the rotation more like second nature. And also, you'll need to develop the eye, which will be able to read situations in the fast-paced PvP environment. I'd like to hear back from you to see if the content in this video helped at all, if you have any questions, or if you'd like to just give me any kind of feedback. If you like this video and would like to see more of my Feral PvP guides, you can check me out on skillcap.com. And with that, this is Miirkat, and I'll be checking you out in Cataclysm PvP.